Tēnā koutou katoa. We talk about authenticity quite a lot. Ever since Brené Brown made it famous, it's something, particularly in the leadership space, that many of us are keen to adopt. And yet we often have these competing demands, I think, in this space. Be your authentic self and honour your integrity, whilst also trying to be perfect and know all the answers. And sometimes they can feel like they conflict. And I remember Dame Jenny Shipley saying once at a conference, the closer you are to perfect, the less people will trust you. And I think for me, this sums up this authenticity piece. When we are human, when we are genuine, when we show up, flaws and all, people, it's congruent. People connect to that. We are human. People trust us, and therefore they're more likely to want to work with us. We are genuine. And so I think embracing who we are authentically, rather than trying to have all the answers and be perfect and almost wear this leadership armor that says, yeah, I've got this, is often the way to go, and yet so at odds with how we feel. And I love Brené Brown's quote on this, that true belonging doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. And I think in terms of authentic leadership, we're all trying to be who we are, but within this confines of a mold that we've created that looks like a leader, right? And we have a lot of assumptions about what should and shouldn't be in that. And one of the ways I like to cut through that, and a concept that I talked about in my new book, Leader Zen, is to lead like you live. So often, and I see this in my Lead with Confidence programs, when we're new into leadership, we assume that we have to be someone different, or that there is going to be this big box of skills and secrets we never knew that we now have to learn in order for us to do this job. Whereas the most important part of that job is being able to figure out who you are and then stand in that power to be authentic. So knowing your values, knowing your strengths, leveraging your experience, all of that comes in to make you who you are. And we find that in the leadership space, many of the skills we're drawing on are skills that we had when we were at school, not skills that we need to relearn or learn again now we have this leadership title or role. It enables us to bring our whole selves to work, and it enables our values and our actions to align. It is a much easier place to lead from, but it's also much more of an impactful place to lead from. And yet, because we're human, it's also not that easy. So to continue with the Brené Brown theme, in Atlas of the Heart, she talks about comparison, which I think so many of us, particularly if we're new in role, we're looking at everybody else thinking, I need to be more like that, or I wish I had those skills. She talks about comparison being the crush of conformity from one side and competition from the other. So it's asking us to both fit in and stand out simultaneously. It says, be like everybody else, but be better. And I think so often we feel that the grass might be greener on the other side. And there's an interesting study around the angle at which we view grass and how green it looks. So because of the colours and the light, when we view grass from afar, it does in fact look greener than when it's close up. And I think that's a great analogy to keep in mind when we are comparing ourselves to others, because that takes us away from our authenticity and it puts us in this space of having to change or be different, rather than embracing the skills that we have and aligning to our values in a way that makes us so much more congruent and also allows us to lead authentically. So leading like we live, where we can pull all of our experience together and our values and our strengths and leverage that into our leadership brand. It's such an important part of this authentic leadership journey and bringing our whole selves to work, this concept of human leadership.